bought a van a few days ago, a 45-year-old one, and I named him Barnaby because I think it really suits him perfectly. Overall, it's small, but big enough for my needs, and wow, when I look at it, I can't stop telling myself I made the right decision. But since I bought it to travel, I will need to make a proper build before to enjoy it at its fullest, and that's what the entire video is about, starting from scratch to potentially end up with a decent tiny home on the wheels. And since no handyman can craft without tools or items, I went to the closest DIY shop to get everything I needed. Then it was time for me to dive into it. I started by cleaning the entire van from any rust by sanding and applying anti-rust solution to prevent from any comeback of the biggest enemy of this van. After that, I added some insulation inside the side panel of the van. I chose to go with wood wool, since it was already laying around at my place. Because yes, every penny counts. On the other hand, for the rest of the van, I used some layers of cork that will prevent from the noise to come inside and hopefully the heat as well. I then place some cleats to have a support to screw the wall to, and for that there is two schools. First one is screwing directly the cleats to the body of the car, and the second one, which I am part of, is drilling through the car, applying some anti-rust to finally put inserts in the hole. Thanks to that, I'm sure no rust will come from the metal scraps created by the screw. I also recreated the same process for the ceiling of the van. Afterwards, it was time to create all the walls for the doors. To make it easier, I used some cardboard to have a perfect cutting pattern that I will affix on my wood. This process is a bit of a hassle, since the entire van has custom shapes, but thankfully, the fact that the van is symmetrical saved me a lot of time. I repeated the same process over and over for the entire framing of the van. As soon as I was done with cutting the walls, I wanted to finish the insulation of the van because I still needed to cover the floor. By the way, if you didn't notice, the van doesn't have any windows. I choose the double sliding doors over it, but to compensate the lack of light, I painted all the walls in white to bring more reflection in as soon as one door is open. Before to put the ceiling in place, I drill some holes for the lights. And at the same time, I took care of the wiring. The ceiling itself was a bit more difficult to place. The thing is, I wanted to make it with only one piece of wood, in order to avoid any cut traces. And thankfully, one of my friends came over to help me out with this tricky part. And after 1 week and a half of work, the van was already looking good. It just obviously needed some furniture and a bed. For the furniture, I wanted to try 2 different types of assembly. The first one is about building a frame with cleats. Then you can affix some thin wood on top. And to be honest, this technique is great to save some weight. But the thing is, I'm not a huge fan of it, because it takes you so much time to cut and screw everything together. But what really matters at the end is that you're happy with what you built, which was the case for me. To be honest, I couldn't stop looking at this cabinet. It really looked good to me, especially with that row counter on top. And now that I understood the first technique wasn't for me, I'll dive into the other one. But to do so, I noticed that I would need a little bit of help, otherwise it would take me ages to build it on my own. So in the meantime, I took care of the solar panel installation. This installation is really important for me, because it will bring me free electricity during my entire road trip. To save even more time, I also bought a cabinet with some drawers at a pretty cheap price, and thanks to them I will improve the storage capacity of the van without breaking a sweat. I also had the time to cover the screws that hold the ceiling with blue painted pieces of wood that reminds the color of the van. After that, it's finally time to finish the furniture of Barnaby. And to do so, I asked this guy to help me out. This is François, the woodworker of my hometown. He agreed to give me a hand on my build by cutting all the wood panels. And thanks to him, it will be easier for me to do the assembly of them. And what's really nice when you work with a professional woodworker, as François, is that you learn a lot. Like how to cut perfectly the wood to avoid any useless wood shavings, but also which measurement methods to use to be more precise. He literally made my day by saving me a lot of time, because when you do that on your own with a rotative saw, the process is just super long. Alright, it's time to start the assembly. For that, I will use a template tool to pre-drill the wooden planks. It's a long and time-consuming process, but when I was done, I just had to screw the planks together to create my structure. This second technique of assembly is really nice, and the reason I really like it over the first one is because of the help of François. Because the first one is more forgiving if you messed up with the measurement. So if I was on my own, I would go with that one. But the thing is, since I have perfectly cutted wooden planks, I won't bother myself by doing the first technique. The cool thing also about the technique that I'm doing right now is that all of the screws are not visible, since they are all on the inside side of the furniture. As soon as my structure was finished, I took care of the electricity, which seems a bit complicated at first, but as soon as you learn a few laws about it, it's super easy. The very next day, I went back to see my favorite woodman. I needed to cut a bit more wood in order to finish the structure of the bed and the slide-out drawers that I had in mind. Now that I have all of the wood that I needed to finish my van, I'll screw the slides to the previous structure I've made. As soon as it's done, I will assemble the two drawers with the same technique I used before. Alright, I finally finished the slide out drawers. And I'm really happy with the result I got. They will just be perfect to store a lot of stuff in them, which is, to be frank, really helpful when you have a tiny van. The last part of this van build would be to add a bed frame on top of the drawers. And to make sure the mattress won't get moldy, I drilled a ton of holes in the frame. Because thanks to that, the air will pass through to ventilate it. And here we are, after 2 weeks and a lot of sweat, I'm really happy with the end result. It's a really minimalist and rudimentary build, far from a Pinterest van, but I have everything I need to be able to enjoy the beauty of living in a van. So I guess I succeed my goal of having a decent home on wheels. I hope you enjoyed watching this process, and if you have any thoughts, please meet me in the comment section, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.